and welcome to yet another episode of this podcast, Upfront and Personal. Here is your host, Ananya, all set to become upfront and personal with each and every one of you listening. Hi, you guys. I hope you all are having a good day, as good as Monday can be. I understand. The week is back into our lives with lots and lots of work, and we all must be feeling this fatigue or lethargy getting carried over from the weekend, and it's always tough to get up early on on a Monday, and then you're like, okay, fine, I work now, I guess. So it's difficult. So I hope you're sailing through it fine. Don't worry, just 5 days, you'll get through this. Or maybe I hope you like your job that much. I hope you like your work that much. You don't really mind Monday. And also because obviously the pandemic is here, I hope you all are safe, happy, and healthy. So, you guys, before we start today's episode, I just wanted to make a little chotu announcement, and that was that I have started a YouTube channel for this podcast. It was not there before. I have just from the past week started putting few videos of my already uploaded podcasts on YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is just under my name, Ananya Mishra, and I started doing that because, again, I am from India, right? So Spotify's or any other like podcast as a form's reach is not that great in India. I'm not saying nobody listens to it, but a lot of friends, when I told them that I have a podcast, mine was the first podcast they actually started listening to. And all of my friends are, people from this generation. People from earlier generations, it's even difficult. Like my mother didn't even know what a podcast is. My father also, I think, didn't know. So it is a form that's new, and YouTube obviously has a reach. YouTube has a reach that is across generations and across backgrounds. So I felt like putting my podcast also on YouTube would really help increase its reach. Right now it doesn't have any visuals because, as I said, I'm in the process of putting older episodes right now, so those episodes never really got visually recorded. I am coming to terms with that I have to visually record this podcast someday, but you all know that video recording has so much more hassle and so much more resources and money and time and effort involved, and I'm not even sure that I would be able to take a job that overwhelming right now. I work as a lawyer, I have this podcast, now I'm editing it all of a sudden and putting it on YouTube as well, and I have a life, I have parents and all of that. So I'm getting a little bit overwhelmed in the process, but let's see if I'll ever come to terms with putting up videos. But all I'm saying is that if you want to get this podcast, you can get it on your podcast apps or YouTube, wherever you prefer to get it. Anyways, when we have gotten all that out of the way, let's just jump right into what the video is. So the thing is, my parents just celebrated their wedding anniversary yesterday, and I thought, I wanted to do an episode dedicated to them for a really long time, and I thought, let's just do it today because, it just made sense because of the timeline. But it has been at the back of my mind for quite some time, you guys. What is happening is that I have been living with my parents for past 1 year now because of the COVID-19 pandemic. I used to work in another city. I used to work in another law firm in another city. And when the pandemic broke out and when my law firm said that we all can work remotely, we all eventually went back to our hometowns, and I think almost all of my friends are working remotely from their hometowns and staying with their parents. And don't get me wrong, this is not the first time I'm living with my parents. I lived with my parents throughout my school life till I went to law school. I was 18 when I went to law school. And but when I look back at those 18 years, I didn't really have that much of an understanding of human beings or of life in general to understand my parents that well. You know, uh, I used to take my parents for granted. I was not a naughty kid or I was not an unruly kid, but I feel like when you become adults, when you start making your own money, when you have finished your education and all of those things, like when you become 25, 26-year-old like me, you get a better understanding of what goes into parenting and what your parents stand for, much better than what you had when you were 18. So when throughout my entire school life I was with my parents, and then at 18 I went to law school, and even though in summer vacations I used to visit them, it used to be a very temporary state of affairs. Like Max I've stayed with my parents was 1 month, and then I would go off for some internship. We law students have to do a lot of internships anyways, and my parents and I, we had a very clear sense of the fact that if I want to have a career, if I want to achieve big things, I would have to step out and go somewhere else, because I am originally from a very small town. Like, my parents live in a very small and remote town, and there were not many career opportunities here. So it was extremely clear from the beginning that if I want to go to a good law school, if I want to become a good lawyer, or any which way in any kind of career or field, I would have to step out. So it didn't come as a surprise to us. So yeah, 5 years of law school and about a year of working in another city, and then back to Pavilion because of the pandemic. And this pandemic, I don't know, I feel like my 20s are slipping away and I have all that kind of FOMO, you guys. But I still am somehow really, I don't know, I feel blessed that I got this pandemic to just reflect upon my relationship with my parents, and I get to see them as human beings rather than just mama and papa, and rather than just my providers. So there are 10 things that I noticed about them, and that broadened my picture of what I thought of them. So let's just get started and talk about it. The first one. Okay, so it's very subjective, right? So all of this are going to be subjective. My mother, okay, so she was always in this habit of drinking really cold chai. Like, she would drink really extremely cold chai, all right? And she would always pretend that, I really can't drink very hot tea. And my father and I are in this habit of drinking really, really hot tea. So we used to just make fun of her that she doesn't drink tea, she drinks cold drink. And tea is, very common in Indian household. And I always knew that she prefers her tea cold since I was a child. But in this 1 year, I realized that she doesn't prefer her tea cold. It's not the cause, it's actually the effect. Because whenever she gets her tea, she never drinks it first. She would give it to me, she would give it to my father, she would give it to other people if there are any other people in the house. And even while drinking her tea, either something will happen in the kitchen, or either she'll receive a phone call, or somebody would come at the door, or something like that. And she would actually place her tea back, and then she had to go and attend to that errand, and then she'd come back and then drink tea. That means she does not have enough time even to sit and drink a cup of tea. And that's why, maybe that is what happened in the early years of her marriage, in the early years of her having a household's responsibility on her shoulders. And that's why she always got to drink only cold tea, or like relatively colder tea. That's why now she doesn't like to drink a really hot tea, because she's not accustomed to it. When she's served tea, that's not the only job that she has to drink it. She still runs in household even if she's in the middle of having a meal or having tea. And now I make sure that whenever she's eating or whenever she's drinking tea, there are a lot of times that when I miss it also, because if I'm working, then I can't really see if she's in some other room and she's doing something else. But as much as I can, I make sure that she doesn't miss out on her meals or her tea because somebody's at the door or something she has to do. If there's anything that has to get done, either it will get done later, or I'll attend to it, or my papa will attend to it. But she will sit and she will drink tea. She's still not drinking hot tea though, because I don't know, she's out of the habit, I guess. But yeah, we are not trying to disturb her amidst a meal. Sometimes you don't even know what moms go through. Second thing, I understand that my father is an introvert. So my father was always an introvert, and I knew that, right? But I always took it and assumed that he's going to be an introvert and he's not going to talk much to me or anybody. And we always have this sort of persona, right? Like, fathers are very introvert, and men don't talk, and women talk, and women are chatterboxes. And my mother and I, we do talk a lot. So forget my father, who is actually an introvert. Anybody who even talks like the average amount, we would think that he talks less. So we are not a good framework to judge anyways. But I knew for a fact that he talks less. So I always assumed it, and I never really bothered. But then, whenever he's doing something, whenever either he's doing some work of craftsmanship, or he's on his phone, or he's just, sitting and having his tea, if you go sit with him and just start talking to him about your life, he will have insights to give, and he'll be interested to know, and he'll be interested in your life. And then after a few days, he will come to you and he will circle back to the conversation, and he would want to know more. So sometimes, one or two times when it happened accidentally, I'm like, okay, he remembers what we talked about. So it was not like he was just tolerating me when he was having his chai and I was just blabbering on the dining table. He wants to be included. He wants to know more of me, more about me as a person. But he's such an introvert, or maybe it's the social conditioning that men are put to, especially in Indian societies. He is not very accustomed to opening up himself or telling me his childhood stories or telling me how he was when he was in school or college or in early years of his marriage. Now he tells me like snippets of things, maybe because maybe he thinks that I have grown up, but also because he likes opening up. He just needs a little bit nudge and push, and you have to take the first step. And honestly, I'm more than willing to take that first step. Third, they are very, very proud people, and I'm not saying like very proud when it comes to finances. So I started earning, right, like 1.5, about 2 years back. And since I started earning, I never lived with them. And then, because of the pandemic, last May, I came here and I started living with them. So they are not really used to me also earning and still being in the same house under the same roof. So my father maintains this front where he's like, I earn, I have got this, I have got the finances, you don't care, I am not going to take any money from you, you don't pay any bills, just I am there. And he struggles to still be like, not in a very obnoxious sense, but still quote unquote the man of the house. He's still very proud. He still takes care of things, not because he has a competition with me, but because I'm still his baby, right? So it took me a very, very long time to understand and to not take it in a negative way. I'm his only child. He has paid for my books, paid for my clothes, paid for my everything for like a year and a half back, for my entire life. And the fact that I have a job is also because he paid for my education. Um, so he is like, no, you have the money, you save it, you invest it, you do whatever with your money. He never interferes in my financial decisions. He like do whatever. Like if a parcel comes and the parcel opens up and that's a thing for me, he'd never ask the price. He'd be like, never ask why you have bought it, never. But if he understands that this is for either mama or him, he'll be like, why did you have to spend this much money? We don't need it, we are fine. No, I don't need it. And then he'll just daringly use this thing like till that thing just wears off. He would like those things, but he would be like, you didn't have to do this much kharcha. uh, and he's very, very possessive about his finances right now. But they're also very secretly proud of me. They're extremely proud of me. The fact that I have this job, or the fact that I can make my own money. I'll give you an example. So my father had a phone when I got my first salary, which was 3 years old. He had a 3 years old phone, and it just was up to no good, and he had to change his phone. But he was like, no, I won't change it. He's a very simple man. He does not make a purchase till it becomes extremely necessary. So I got him a phone from my first salary, and he was very shocked because that was the first time I bought him anything out of my own money. And he was just like, I can't take this is too expensive. And it was not an expensive phone, but he said that I feel like I'm not used to like getting such an expensive gift from someone. Nobody has gifted me thing that is as expensive as this. And he's very used to, he's a self-made man, so he's used to making his own money, and he had those confusions, and he still has those conundrums, he still has those moral dilemmas. But instead of taking them personally, or instead of taking them as a personal attack, it's on us kids to be like, I understand, you are still my father, and you are not my father, and I don't love you because you were someone who provided for me financially. That's not our entire relationship is about. Now he, as I said, going back to my second point, he's an introvert. He doesn't open up that much. So if I tell him these things and try to pacify him, he'll just negate all of that. He's like, I'm not paying those bills because of that. Like, I anyways paid. How much you eat? You eat 2 rotis. I can't pay for that or what? So you don't have to pay for anything around. So I try to do as much as I can, but he still doesn't let me. But even if I do anything, he'll be like, no, I don't need it. and then you just go and pick that thing up, and whether it's a t-shirt or whether it's a shirt, or I think I just got a mixie. The only big thing that I got from my parents was a mixer and grinder, because theirs broke down, and I'm like, don't get it repaired, I'll get the another one. And he was very like, why did you buy it, it's too expensive and all that. And now he loves that mixer and grinder, and I'm like, all right then. So it's a very difficult relationship, but I understand that he's coming from a place where he's hesitant to make a change, and that's okay. Fourth thing, okay, this is a very cute thing, all right. So when I became an earning member of the society, quote unquote, I wanted to get a Hotstar and Amazon Prime subscription, because it was like a dream thing that I will get my own subscription, and I'm no more using subscriptions of my friends and all to watch videos and movies and stuff like that. I'll have my own subscription. So I got all these streaming platform subscriptions. And then my father got to know that I have them. And I thought, because he's such a simple man, like coming from a middle class background, he would be like, why did you waste your money and all that? But then he's like, can I have your Amazon Prime subscription? I'm like, of course you can. Like, it's supposed to be a family thing, right? So you can, from one subscription, you order things for your household and I'll order for mine, when I used to live in another city. And then he started using it, and then he started using the Hotstar subscription. And every single day I go in the night, and he's watching some kind of show, and he's watching some kind of movie. And before that, he never had access to these international movies or shows, right? Now he watches all of that. And abhi though right now we are in the same house, but when I was in different house, he would call me up and he'd be like, I watched the entire Batman series, or I watched this. And he recently watched, I think, Good Wife, or he watched House, and before that also I think he watched a show that I can't remember. But all these shows that I suggested to him, and then he would message me that this person is so great and this person is that great. He watched Notting Hill, and he's like, Hugh Grant is so great, he's amazing, he's phenomenal. And these things bring smile to my face, that he's also watching the things that I watched as a college student, or now I'm watching as a 20 something year old. And he's getting introduced to all these concepts, and he'd come and he'd be like, okay, so have you watched this movie? And if I say that I haven't, he gets excited. But as I said, he's not an expressive man, so he doesn't say much, but he would come and sit with me. He's like, okay, so then there's this guy, he goes and the car crashes, and he'll tell me the entire thing. He's like, I watched this movie and you haven't, so let me just explain it to you. And then if he finds me, if he sees me watching some show, he's like, what show is it? And then I'll be like, okay, this show is that. He's like, oh. And the next day he'll be watching that. So it's a very cute relationship, and I'm glad that I was able to introduce him to all that. And it's super cute. He doesn't say much, he doesn't express much, but I think it's super cute. Okay, the fifth one is that my mother is a very early riser, right? I always knew that. But my mother exercises and walks around for about 1.5 hours first thing in the morning before we even get up. So she gets up like 2-3 hours before us, and she'll go and she'll get her exercise and yoga and workout and everything done. And then she really likes it, all right? And then I always knew that she was fitness conscious or whatever, and she is an early riser, so it was never a surprise for me. But now, when as an adult I see all that, I'm like, she does all that because she really likes her alone time. She's a nature lover. She loves to do Surya Namaskar in the morning. She loves to go to the terrace and take walks and stuff. It's because before both of us get up, my father and she has to start tending to her requirements and her things. My mother is a homemaker. She likes to get her alone time in, and I love that, and I never disrupt that. Even if on days when I get up early while she's exercising, I never go to her room and be like, okay, I want this or anything. I know that my mother loves that time, and she absolutely deserves it, and I respect her space. And even like an hour before going to the bed, now I can see her, I notice her that she does her skincare. I got some skincare products to her and introduced her to some new concepts of skincare. So she'll take her moisturizer and she'll put it on her fingers and stuff like that, and she will just watch stuff on her phone, and then she'll fall asleep, and then if she has to watch a movie or something, I'll get it set up on the laptop, and then she watches it. So the last hour and the first 2-3 hours of the day are hers, and she's very territorial about that, even without saying that, don't come and disturb me. But I'm so glad that she gets to have that time, and I love that she understands that she's an individual before a homemaker or before a part of this family. And yeah, I'll always respect that space of hers. Sixth thing is, my mother is actually much more progressive than I thought she was. You know, it's a bitter truth. I am not sure if if you are my age, if you guys are also going through or facing this dilemma. But my mother is a homemaker, and sometimes, because my mother is so simple, what you do is you start taking her for granted, and you start not respecting her that much. You respect her as a mother, but you also have to respect her mindset. You also have to respect her as an individual. And I'm telling this to you, and especially listen to me when if you are living in a single income household, when your mother is not earning. Your mother doesn't really need to earn for you to respect her. I started knowing my mother as an individual, respecting her as an individual so much more in this past 1 year. Because I don't know, I've come back as an adult. I come back as a 25-year-old. I come back as a person who she thinks might understand her more. So she talks to me more, and she lets her individual side show more. And maybe before that, I took her for granted because I lived with her all my life. So I'm like, yeah, okay, she does this. But I never interpreted her behavior, right? Now I have the time to do that, because now I'm valuing this time so much more, because as soon as the pandemic gets over, I have to go back and I would want to start my life. I'm not saying that, but I treasure these moments a lot. So what I was saying was, she she was asking me when I want to get married, and I'm like, I have not thought about it, let's see, whatever. And then she's like, even if you want to turn 30 and still study or work or travel or whatever, I'm not going to ask you anything till you turn 30. After you turn 30, I will ask you when you want to get married. I'm like, okay. And then as soon as she said it, she sort of retracted her statement, and she said, when you turn 30, I'll ask you. Not ask you, but like, I will discuss it with you. Even at 30, there is no pressure. We will just discuss at 30. Before 30, no question, all right? And then she sort of understood that it's my marriage and it's my agency, and nobody can ask me really. And she sort of understood it. And even though she doesn't say that she's a feminist, even though she doesn't say that, she doesn't read these books, and she doesn't try to sound this intellectual, we use all these flowery language, we use these big sentences, we quote these authors, we quote these shows and movies. We don't really have to do that. There's a simple idea of feminism, and it's extremely simple and basic, and my mother understands this. There was one time when somebody sent a meme or a joke on WhatsApp about, these jokes on WhatsApp are very prevalent, especially in India, where a husband is really fed up of his wife, and he's like, my wife can't shut up or whatever. And my mother's like, why these people are sending these things? She didn't know the word misogyny. She couldn't point out and say that these things are misogynistic. But she said that I don't like men who spread this message that women are bad, and who are honestly women haters. And if you are so fed up with your wife, leave her. But if you have made a promise or a commitment to her, your wife, make sure that you eat. Your wife is such a nice human being who takes care of you and your family. Your wife is your partner. Don't make fun of her. And even though there was no specific husband or wife or a couple that we were talking about, I understood that my mother gets really infuriated by all these memes and jokes that are targeted at women, and that are made funny, quote unquote, on the expense of women as a gender. And yeah, and my mother doesn't try to be intellectual, but she's goddamn is. And I love my mother for that. Yeah. The next one is, my parents are in a very weird stage of life when it comes to me, and they are very confused as to how to treat me. So as I said, I'm their only child. So when you are an only child, whatever stage that you are going through with your parents, it's not only new for you, it's also new for them, because they don't have another child or another example to fall back on. So now I'm independent, but now I'm also living under their roof, so I'm sort of not independent. And they look at me, and I'll always be their kid. I'll always be their baby. And in Indian families, anyways, you're always the baby. So they always would be this pampering, caring parents for me, but they also have started to respect my boundaries a little bit. Like, my mother knows the password of my phone, right? Or my mother never even picks up my call. My mother never checks my phone, nothing. If my phone is there, even unlocked, she would not touch it. My laptops, they do not have password. She would not go and she would not browse through them. Like, like they respect all these boundaries, and I'm not saying when I was a teenager they would have done it, but they understand and they value me and respect me for who I am. Like, for example, an Amazon parcel comes, they would not ask me how much is this for, but if there's anything that I have got for them, they are very like, you don't have to spend this much money, how much is it? If I buy anything for myself, then they would not ask the price. But if there is anything that I bought for them, they become concerned as to why are you doing this much kharcha for us. That's a different thing. I have addressed that in an earlier point. But all I was saying was that they have boundaries, but they still think of me as a kid, and they are very confused. And even though, I could be this rebellious kid, and I could be like, I can literally say that I'm a grown up woman, and I am, but you know I don't want to just get up and say all of these things. I felt like rebelling. I feel like rebelling a lot. But then I also understand that my parents are also figuring this shit out. I think the best thing that I've learned, and the most important thing that I've learned throughout this journey, is that my parents are also human beings, right? So, like, they are they are not infallible. So, like, for example, my mother really wants me to brush my hair, all right? She really wants me to do that, and I forget to brush my hair every now and then she's like, if you don't brush your teeth, brush your hair, I'm not going to give you your lunch. And then she retracts it. Arey, brush your hair. No, it would look good for yourself only. I'm telling you, it's like an investment in future. And she would make it sound like she's talking to an adult, but she still just really wants me to brush my hair. I think they're going through this cute dilemma, and instead of being rebellious, you also have to understand again that your parents are also human beings. Now, I understood the next thing, and which I would have understood anyways, even when I would be living across, like, apart from them, is that they are at the stage where they're thinking about retirement. We're thinking about what their future would be when my father would retire, and all of those things. And you can guess it from your parents' age. If they are entering their late 50s, early 60s, they would be in that kind of mindset. But I get to see the repercussions of it and what retirement or looking at retirement actually looks like when you actually live with them. And if not for the pandemic, I wouldn't have lived with them normally. I have a job in another city, and before this my job was never work from home, so I would have only visited them in like vacations and stuff like that, which is obviously lesser when you're not a student and when you start working. So yeah, anyways, I can see that they are thinking about when my father would be on his pension. He's on a government job, so when he'll start getting his pension, when they might have to cut down on some expenses. They sometimes talk to me about, but you will get married, and my and all of that. And then I always tell them that even though I get married, I mean, like, my house would always be your house, and I would always be financially, emotionally, mentally, physically available for you guys, and my resources would always be your resources, and I would not be helping you guys out. That's my responsibility, and I do not have to be your son to do that. And they're like, yeah, of course, tumse thode hi paise lenge, which is like, why would we take money from you? We are secure. And then sometimes we are like, my mother's like, I will come to your house unannounced. And I'm like, yeah. So they are going through these motions of things. As I said, they're very confused as to how to treat me and how to treat me in future. But there's also this thing, when they are talking about these things, they're not really thinking about my and their relationship in future. They're thinking about their own future. And yeah, it's super scary, because since you're born, you see your parents working. So your father going towards retirement, or your mother thinking about the repercussions of it, it's scary for you as a child too. I'll try to be with for them, be there for them as much as possible. We'll get through this together as a family. That's all I can assure them right now. But yeah, the fact that they're thinking about it makes me a little nervous. Wow. The next thing is my parents ignore luxury. They ignore luxury so much, they almost ignore it to the point of resisting it, but they also low-key love it. So my parents, again, I said, I come from a simple middle class background, nothing fancy. But even there are a lot of things that we refused ourselves as a family or as individuals, because even though we could afford it, just because we felt like, oh, it's too much of money, or how can we buy this thing, we don't need that thing, even after before, even without that we are fine. Now the entire point of buying anything luxurious is not if you can live without it or not. You can obviously live without it, that's why it's a luxury and not a necessity. But when you get it, you get a lot more comfort. So of course, if you have more money, you will indulge in luxuries, and otherwise your first priority is necessities. It's just that when my father started working, the concept of necessity versus luxury has changed tremendously now. So, like for example, air conditioning. We never had air conditioning because my father always viewed it as a luxury. But we all know that it's a necessity right now. And that's why we just got air conditioning done this summers. And I pushed for it, and somehow we got it done. And my mother loves it because we live in a city which is actually pretty hot. So they really like it when it's hot climate or humid climate. They love to think about all those controls that are on the remote, and my mother's like, oh, okay, so there's a fan also, and she's just learning about air conditioning right now. So they denied luxury for such a long time in their lives that they, as I said, they came to a point of resisting it. But when they finally got it, now they really low-key like it. They won't admit it. Like my mother would admit it. My mother loves sleeping in an AC right now. And sometimes she said she can't even believe that she sleeps in an AC, which is something that we could have afforded 15 years back as well. But we never went ahead and got it done because, again, as I said, we always viewed it as a luxury. My father viewed it as a luxury because, again, he was the decision maker when it comes to big financial decisions. But right now, I also had a force, so I pushed for it and we got it done. And my mother loves it. And when I look at her sleeping in the AC, I feel so nice. Like, she looks like a baby. She looks like this tucked away baby that's really, really, really happy and contented. And I love seeing her, and I love looking at her looking this comfortable sleeping. So yeah, I think I'll get some more luxuries added to their lives, and yeah, I'm sure they'll resist it at first, but they're going to low-key start loving it again, just like the air conditioning. Okay, the 10th one and the final one is, I'm sure everyone who has lived apart from their parents really, really would realize it and really would relate to it. That when I was away from my parents for the past 6 years, they really absolutely missed me. They never said this to me. I mean, they obviously said it to me in some form or the other, but I never really understood how much they missed it. My father, again, as I said, he's very less expressive. My mother is much more expressive. But you have to notice and you have to do your own observation on your own level. They are not going to come and tell you that, listen, we really missed you. So they are very, very happy that I'm with them. And of course, I still get that FOMO of missing out on my 20s and of all those trips that I could have taken. And I loved renting my own apartment and living on my own and being my own girl in the city and all that. But when I look at them and when I look at how contented they feel that in the middle of the pandemic, I am not apart from them and I'm with them in front of their eyes, they really feel relieved. Now, I'm not saying that I can't get COVID in this house. There is no place in India that's COVID free, completely assured right now. It's just that whatever happens, we'll get through this together as a family in the same house, and they are fine with that, and they are happy about that. And yeah, these were 10 things that I realized about my parents after living with them for past 1 year. And probably, yes, the first time when I actually lived with them properly as an adult. I am not sure when I'll get this time after the pandemic ends, because after the pandemic ends I will go back to the big city, living my big, a small town girl living her life in big city. I'll go back to that plot of my life, that part of my life. And yes, I'm looking forward to that. But you know what, this past year has not been that bad anyways. I love being in the same household with my parents and observing them going through their late 50s, going through their early 50s, just knowing them as individuals, knowing them as two adults from a point of view as an adult myself. I will always be their baby, but I'm not a baby anymore and I can understand them much better. So, yeah, I hope you liked today's episode and I will see you in my next one. Bye.